Hello and welcome back to Now Go See It. I'm Tony. We're finishing up our time in Buenos Aires with a day trip across the river to Uruguay. It's our first time in Uruguay, to the city of Colonia. We booked a one-day excursion on the Colonia Express. You can do it online through places like Viator or Get Your Guide. There's details on our website. We just stopped by the mall that was close to our hotel and booked it right there. It was easy peasy. So we're gonna have a great day in Uruguay, a new country for us. So come along.
If you're doing a day trip from Buenos Aires to Colonia del Sacramento, let's start with the ticket. Buy it in advance online, or buy it in person at the Galerías Pacífico sales desk if you prefer a real person to confirm you picked the right option. Either way, make sure the name on the ticket matches your passport exactly. You're crossing an international border twice. Also, pay attention to what you're buying, because Colonia Express sells basic ferry seats, and they also sell packages that bundle your round-trip ferry, a guided tour, and lunch. Those packages are great if you want a simple plan and don't feel like researching restaurants, figuring out which streets to prioritize, and doing schedules while you're trying to enjoy yourself. If you want the easy version of this trip, scan the QR code or hit the link in the description to jump to our blog post on nowgoseeit.com. I'll have direct ticket links there, plus other tour package options from our partners so you can compare what's included and pick the one that fits your timing. Okay, terminal time. Colonia Express leaves from Puerto Madero Sur in Buenos Aires. And the best mindset is, treat this like a small airport run, not a casual boat ride. You're going through immigration, there are lines, there are checkpoints. Inside the terminal, it's modern and functional. You check in at the counters, then you go through exit and entry formalities. After immigration, you end up in a clean waiting area with plenty of seating, restrooms, and a simple cafe for coffee and basic sandwiches and snacks. Once you're cleared, boarding is easy. You line up, you scan, you walk on. Now the ferry, because this was not some tiny commuter boat. This thing is a really cool modern car ferry. Down below, you've got the vehicle deck where they pack in cars. Above that is the main passenger level, which is huge. Tons of comfortable seats laid out so you can spread out. There's room to get up, walk around, switch seats if the sun is blasting one side, and generally not feel boxed in. If you're traveling with someone, it's easy to grab two spots together, and if you're solo, it's easy to claim a window seat. Then upstairs, you've got another level with a cafe and different kinds of seating. There are couch-style seats, table seating, and areas that feel like they're meant for groups who want to sit facing each other to talk. There are small outdoor areas around the ferry too, so you can step outside and get those Rio de la Plata views. It's a wide stretch of water, so it doesn't feel like you're crossing a little river. It feels like open water. Depending on the weather, it can be breezy out there, so hold on to your hat, your hair, and your dignity. The outdoor decks are great for quick photo breaks, but if it's windy, you'll be back inside pretty fast, and that's fine. There's also a duty-free shop on board, not a tiny shelf, a real shop. Snacks, alcohol, fragrances, random travel stuff, souvenirs, and enough browsing potential to kill time. Even if you don't buy anything, it's a fun walkthrough just to see what they're selling on a ferry. It also breaks up the ride nicely. One important note, surprisingly, there were no USB charging ports on board, so bring a small power bank. You'll be using maps, taking photos, checking meeting points, and watching the clock. A dead phone is not a fun plot twist. The journey itself is pretty quick for an international border crossing day. It's roughly around an hour to an hour and a half, depending on the sailing. I booked a tour package that included round-trip ferry transportation, a guided tour of the historic district, and lunch. After currency conversion, it came out to about $85 US. For me, that was worth it because it removed a lot of decision-making. Arrival in Colonia is easy, and the terminal on the Uruguay side is easy to navigate. There are little shops, restrooms, a snack bar-style food option, and plenty of spots to sit down. Then it was tour time. The guided tour ran about 90 minutes, and it was a great way to get my bearings fast. Colonia del Sacramento is compact, but the historic area has enough little streets and turns that you can lose time looping around without needing to. The tour gave me the overview, the context, and the mental map so I could do my own thing afterward without constantly second-guessing directions. One warning though, the tour is all on foot. There's basically nowhere to sit down during the tour, and depending on the time of day, you can get stretches with minimal shade. So wear shoes you trust on cobblestones, bring water, and be realistic about the sun. The timing worked out perfectly because the tour ended right when it was time for lunch. Lunch was included at El Refugio, and it was a prefix menu. The menu was simple and straightforward. I picked chicken milanesa, which is a breaded chicken cutlet, and it came with fries. Solid choice. The other main options were grilled chicken thighs with mixed salad, catch of the day with mashed potatoes, homemade noodles with sauce, or pork bandillo with mashed potatoes, which is a rich, tender pork cut. Dessert was included too, but drinks were not. So if you want soda, coffee, or anything beyond water, expect that to be extra. Overall, for something that was included in the package, it was a nice lunch. After lunch, I kicked off my afternoon loop with the Basilica del Santissimo Sacramento. The church site goes back to the Portuguese founding period, and the building you're seeing today is the result of multiple rebuilds over centuries. Early versions were much simpler, and later reconstructions used more durable materials: stone, lime, brick, depending on what era you're looking at. There's also a wild moment in its history where a lightning strike caused major damage and forced yet another rebuild. It's worth paying attention to the exterior walls because you can literally see the layers of different construction styles and materials stacked into one structure. Across from the church on a lower volume cobblestone street, you'll find the Instagram famous old cars with plants growing out of them. The car has retired and fully become a garden. Snap a few photos because you kind of have to. Next door, you'll run into the ruins area, and here's the key detail that makes it more than just roped off stones. This is tied to the Convento de San Francisco Xavier site. That convent was built in the late 1600s. It was later destroyed by fire, and those ruins became part of the landscape Colonia built around instead of rebuilding on top of. From there, I worked my way to Plaza Mayor. This is where Colonia's whole identity clicks into place. If you're a little curious about why the town looks the way it does, Colonia was founded by the Portuguese in 1680, and it spent a long time being fought over. Portuguese and Spanish forces going back and forth for control, because this location on the Rio de la Plata was strategic. The Barrio Histórica is UNESCO listed, specifically because it preserves a rare blend of Portuguese and Spanish colonial influence in one compact place. And you can see that blend in real life around the plaza. The street layout doesn't follow the typical Spanish colonial checkerboard grid you see in a lot of Latin American cities. Instead, the lanes curve and angle in a way that reflects earlier Portuguese planning. Then you get Spanish additions layered in. The architecture around this area leans into fixed stone walls, tiled roofs, and older construction details that feel different from the more uniform Spanish colonial town planning you might be expecting. UNESCO even calls out the narrow cobblestone streets and the way the town's visual landmarks, church towers, and the lighthouse define the skyline from the bay. Speaking of the lighthouse, Faro de Colonia del Sacramento was completed in the mid-1800s and was built on the top of an older structure connected to the convent ruins, basically repurposing what was already there instead of starting from scratch. The convent's tower became a foundation for a lighthouse. And this is not a decorative lighthouse. It's still an active navigation light. It's maintained as part of the country's lighthouse system. After that, I spent a good chunk of time just working the streets around the plaza and the lighthouse, because this is where Colonia earns its reputation as a place you can cover on foot without needing a complicated plan. The lanes are tight, the cobblestones are uneven, and you're constantly bouncing between little artisan shops, cafes, and random corners that feel like you accidentally walked into a different century. One of the most useful details to know while you're walking, you're literally seeing design differences tied to who built what. A classic example is Calle de los Suspiros, which is associated with the early Portuguese era. It has a drainage channel running down the center, different from Spanish-style street setups where drainage and sidewalks are usually pushed to the sides. Shopping-wise, it's smaller local stuff: mate gourds and bombadillas, leather goods, ceramics, and edible souvenirs. I also popped into the Naval Museum, and if you like quick focus museums, this one is easy to justify. It gives you context that explains why this town mattered enough to fight over in the first place. From there, I headed out for my waterfront leg, following the Rambla until I hit Playa Urbana El Amo. This is where you get out of the tight historic lanes and you feel how Colonia sits on the edge of Rio de la Plata. The shoreline here is part of what defines the town geographically. Colonia is built on a cape formed by points like Punta San Pedro and Punta Santa Rita. So while you're walking along the water, you're literally tracing the shape of what made this spot valuable in the first place. After that waterfront stretch, I looped back toward the historic core and explored more of the shoreline around the old town, including the area by Punta Santa Rita. The vibe here is simpler: water, rocks, small beach pockets. To finish the old town portion, I went back for one last look at Portón de Campo and the historic wall. The gate and fortifications were part of how Colonia defended itself during all those back and forth periods of control. The gate structure dates to the Portuguese defense era, and the whole setup, wall, entry point, and the original defense logic explains why the historic quarter still feels contained and defined, instead of sprawling out. This portion of the wall was rebuilt to show its original form. On the way back toward the ferry, I stopped into the Mercado Artesanal de Colonia, and this one is very easy to recommend because it's not just souvenir tables. It's a restored building, an old rail warehouse turned into a dedicated artisan market space with local makers inside, even a cantina area. And then another satisfying photo stop: the old Colonia railway station. It's defunct, it's photogenic, and it has that early rail era design that feels like it belongs in a different time. The station opened in the early 1900s and later closed when passenger rail service ended. It sits now as a reminder that Colonia used to be connected to the region in a totally different way than in what it does today. Getting back on board for the return was pretty quick, even though the lines looked intimidating. You still have formalities, you still have boarding procedures, but it moved fast. The main thing is you don't want to show up late and start gambling on how fast it'll move. The ride back to Buenos Aires is your decompression. You've done another country, you've done cobblestones, you've done history, and now you're on a comfortable ferry watching the sun drop over the Rio de la Plata on the way home. It's the kind of ending that makes the whole day feel clean and complete. If this helped you plan your Colonia day trip, hit like and subscribe. To see our full post about this day trip with links, maps, and more specifics, scan this QR code or click the link in the description to nowgoseeit.com. Now go see Colonia del Sacramento, Uruguay.